Young Karen claims to know the owner and demands a VIP table, but I'm the owner. Shocked when she receives $4,000 bill. Parents immigrated to Canada from Italy in the 70s and opened up a restaurant. When they passed away, the restaurant went to my parents. Over the decades, they grew and expanded it. I've been working at the restaurant since I was 15. Over time, my parents got older and eventually retired, becoming snowbirds. They left the restaurant to me a few years ago, but still retain a small percentage of ownership. As soon as I gained control, I pretty much modernized the whole place. Remodeled the restaurant, changed the logo, reached out to local and national papers, invited critics, bloggers, vloggers, etc. It was very slow at first, and I began to worry that the loan I took out to do all of this was the biggest mistake I'd ever made and ruined 3 generations of my family's business. But eventually it began to work, and a local semi-famous YouTuber featured us in one of his videos, and that caused our business to grow by 10 times. We became a hotspot for major events, and it wasn't uncommon for a celebrity to come. On those nights, I even arranged for special high-profile chefs to visit and cook for our guests, which was super expensive. During the holidays, we were beyond packed. It got to a point where people would have to make a reservation in July to get a table in December. When it gets busy, I do whatever I need to do to make sure the business is running well, whether I'm greeting people, bussing tables, or even mopping the floors. On nights when we have high-profile guests or events, I'm in a blazer and acting like I own the place. One night, a group of 6 women walk in. 5 of them look like they're in their early 20s, and the head of the group looked like she was in her mid-20s. My best theory is that they were either sisters or very close friends. I was greeting at the door. As they were walking up, Queen Bee was telling the baby Karens how amazing the food is and how there might even be celebrities here. When she came up to me, she told me she needed a table for 6. I replied, "Of course. Can I please get the name on the reservation?" She looked at me and said, "Oh, I didn't make one, but it's okay. I'm a close friend of the owner. He said he always has 1 or 2 tables that he keeps open for special guests and said we could have one of those tonight." Now, generally, this is true of many high-profile restaurants, and lately I've been doing that as well. But I had no clue who this woman was, and she definitely never spoke to me about any of this. I did get that she was trying to get in without a reservation, but she literally picked the worst person she could possibly talk to and try this. I told her, "I'm sorry, but we cannot seat anyone without a reservation. As you can see, we do not have any seats available." I didn't want to go all out and say I'm the owner and we have never spoken before, so I never promised you a thing because I didn't want to embarrass her in front of her friends at first. She then went on and said out loud to one of the other girls to take a picture of me. She will speak to the owner and make sure I'm either cleaning the toilet or fired by the end of the week. The other girls, following her lead, were like, "Kiss your minimum wage job goodbye." I'm not sure if they were in on it or if they honestly thought that she knew the owner. Queen Bee Karen then went on and said, "Look, you can just give us a table or I can make life very difficult for you. This is not worth losing your job." At this point, it was a long day for me, and the way I saw it, I had 3 options. 1, tell her I'm the owner and just call her out on all of this. 2, just give her the table and let it be. 3, teach Queen Bee Karen and her little minions a lesson. I chose option 3 for various reasons, including some personality flaws I'm aware that I have, but I like to think it was at least 50% really wanting to teach her a lesson. I smiled at her, said, "Of course, ma'am, follow me please," and I gave her one of the 3 tables we keep open in case a celebrity comes in. I told her I apologize for everything, and she is right, it would be simpler to just give her the table. I also told her that the first 3 rounds of drinks will be complimentary. I sat them down and personally served them. As they were sitting down, I told them we do need one of your credit cards and IDs just to keep on file, and we will give it back to you before you leave. Queen Bee Karen gave me her cards and told baby Karen minions that tonight was on her. I took their orders and got them their free drinks and told them due to how busy we are tonight, there may be a delay on the food. All the girls were thinking of and cared about were their free rounds. They ordered their 3 rounds and still no food. They eventually called me and asked me to check on the whole time, giving me the world's most nasty attitude since even before they ordered. I told them they will check on it, but also asked if they would like any more drinks. They ordered 2 more rounds by the time the appetizers arrived. At this point, they were all drunk, having done nothing but drink on an empty stomach most of the night and only having had salads after. As more food arrives, the more drinks are ordered. What these girls never realized was they are at our VIP table, which alone cost a few $1,000s just to sit in, but I didn't charge them for that. What I did charge them for was all the super expensive cocktails they had through the night, except for the first 3 rounds. In addition, the table they were sitting in, as mentioned, was VIP, so the menus were a bit different. For one, they don't say any prices on them, and it had certain higher-end menu options such as white truffle, black caviar dishes, and specially imported West Coast oysters, among other things. At one point in the night, I was honestly rethinking what I was doing and thought I might be going too far with these poor girls, as they might not know any better. But some of the things reassured me throughout the night, such as one of the baby Karens asking me if I felt like my life was worthless since all I ever became was a waiter. Also, one of my employees told me how they were discussing how to mess with me to the point that they can just do this whenever they want and I will know to always give them a table. I also overheard them say, "He's cute, but I would never date a waiter like that. He is such a pushover." There were a bunch of comments like that the entire night. So I kept on with their little life lesson. By the end of the night, each girl racked up a bill in the range of $500 to $600 per girl. When I handed Queen Karen the bill of $42.32.23 with tax and tip included, of course, I have never seen anyone sober up so quickly. She went from laughing and giggling with her friends to nearly in tears. She called me over instantly and asked if this was some kind of joke. I took the bill, looked it over, and said, "Oh, yes, I apologize. I will get you the correct bill in a moment." Again, she felt a complete sense of relief thinking she got someone else's bill, called me an effing idiot, and went on talking to her friends. To be fair, I did make a mistake. I did forget to count her 8th order of a dozen oysters that cost about $120 per order, so I gladly just went back and added it to the order. When I went back to give her the correct bill, she flipped out again, going crazy. I just asked if there was something on this bill that she didn't order. She and the girls, in shock, go over every single line of the bill, including the first few lines that show their original 3 rounds, which say complimentary. They then took out their phones and line by line went over everything for the 100th time, adding everything up. Extremely rattled, Queen Bee Karen simply said, "1 second, I need to use the washroom." Part of me thought that she might just pull a dine and dash and leave the baby Karens with the bill, but I did low-key remind her that we had her ID and credit card. Without making it obvious, I thought she was going to run out on the bill. 10 minutes later, she comes back with new makeup, obviously she's been crying, and makes up a whole story on how the food was awful, the drinks were bad, and so on, demanding that as a bare minimum, I should cut the bill in half, with the agreement that the baby Karens will chip in even though she originally told them that the night would be on her. Then, as if a light bulb went off in her head, she again mentioned her relationship with the owner, as if it were to give me additional incentive to cut the bill in half. Holding back a grin at this point, I told her no, I can't change the bill. She whips out her phone and shows me a series of texts with someone called restaurant's name owner, which at that point I realized what she was doing in the bathroom, which was changing one of the other Karen minions' contact names and deleted the previous texts to start a new script. I read through the text and then clicked on the contact to point out that that was not the owner's cell phone number. Her reply was, "He has multiple phones for business and stuff. Of course you don't know all his numbers." I remember thinking, wow, this girl thought of everything except that I'm the actual owner. I said, "How about this? If we call him and he says it's okay to take 50% off the bill, then I'll do it." Her reply was more yelling and screaming, which started to grab the attention of other customers in the restaurant. At this point, I was done. I said, "Cut the crap, little girl. You don't know the owner. You have never been here before, and if you keep yelling, I will call the police." Her demeanor changed, and she was trying to defend herself the best she could. My reply to her weak comebacks was, "My parents founded this restaurant. My family has been running this place for generations. I have worked here almost my entire life. I am the one and only owner of this restaurant, and I have never once seen you, heard of you, and definitely never made a stranger I don't know and have never met before any promises." Many Karens were just frozen and didn't even know how to react. Queen Bee Karen was in tears. I said, "Now, I gave you the table you wanted, which is one of these specially reserved tables for high-end clients, which I didn't charge you for and gave you 3 rounds of drinks for free. If you don't pay your bill, I will call the cops and hand them your ID." In tears, Queen Karen signed the bill, and the mini Karens took out their purses to give her whatever cash they had, which equaled to maybe a couple of $100, with the promise to pay her back more. 2 days later, a man walks into my restaurant fuming and asks one of my bartenders to speak to me. I was in the back office for a bit working, so he waited a good half hour for me. He was Queen Bee Karen's father. She was with him too, keeping her head down. I took them both into my office, showed him the highlights of the security cameras, which were especially good quality of audio because they were in the VIP section. We had to keep good records of this because we had other unrelated incidents before. So I showed him most of it, their comments, their orders, everything. When all was said and done, he stormed out with her and was screaming at her the whole time they were walking away. Haven't seen or heard from either of them since, but the original bill I gave them is framed on my desk. Well, this has to be one of the greatest Karen revenge stories I think I've ever read. Let me know in the comments what you think. Do you think this restaurant owner was in the right for embellishing the truth and getting the Karen to basically put themselves in a situation where they owed over $4,000 on a VIP table? Or do you think they should have been honest from the get-go and put this to rest before it became such a big thing?